Boasting over 900 games and packing a walloping 16 bits, the Sega Genesis sprung into our homes in the early 90s and would be Sega's crown achievement in an otherwise dwindling company. Originally dubbed the Mega Drive on the Japanese market, the 16-bit gaming console triumphed above other systems with sharper graphics, higher resolution, industry-best animation, and a variety of excellent gaming titles. With its marquee mascot Sonic the Hedgehog, the Sega Genesis would take Nintendo and your favorite plumber head-on for a period that would be known as the Console Wars. During this period, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System and the Sega Genesis would release gem after gem in a decade that would be known for the revival of the gaming industry. Sega Enterprises Ltd. and the Sega Genesis heightened the quality of gameplay while eagerly evoking a sense of emotion and unrivaled excitement from its users, one being me. Many of these titles rank among the greatest games ever produced. However, by the end of 1994, with the new generation of 32-bit consoles, left Sega Genesis and its 16-bit technology in the dust. But Sega Genesis left its mark on the gaming world with its games still being popular to this day. That being said, the Sega Genesis was my first console, and I still remember exactly how the day went when my parents were gracious enough to purchase the Sega Genesis for me. I proudly present to you Number 10. Double Dragon. Starting off my top 10 comes Double Dragon, however don't let its spot fool you. This classic game was about two brothers fighting for the love of the same girlfriend. Where was Tinder when you needed it? The gameplay was exceptional and the co-op offered lasting memories. Just don't let the real-life movie be one of those memories.
Many lives have been spent searching for the legendary Double Dragon. Now, it's mine.
Number 9. Contra: Hard Corps. Taking place 5 years after Contra 3, Contra Hard Corps had great non-stop shooting gameplay that you had known and loved. The overall premise was simple: just destroy all who are in your way, and this game even had more characters to select from and branching mission paths and endings, making this a fantastic game. Number 8. Toe Jam and Earl. In the early 90s, when hip-hop was actually hop, the developers took this to the heart and created a game that would translate urban culture into a very successful and clever game. What's especially great about this game is that it's so jam-packed with secret nukes and crannies that you're guaranteed to find something new every time you play this game. Number 7. NBA Jam. Coming in at number 7, NBA Jam was also an incredibly fun arcade game to play. Remember those? However, NBA Jam took the game of basketball to even simpler terms. 2-on-2, shots easier to make than a player on the Golden State Warriors, and the overall craziness of it make it an absolute blast to play. From the iconic announcer to being on Fuego, NBA Jam is still a very fun game to play to this day. Boom shakalaka. Number 6. Mortal Kombat 2. The second Mortal Kombat game in the series also happens to be the very best. There was much more variety in the characters and gameplay from the first entry, and there wasn't as much unnecessary material as in the third game. The final result? A fantastic quality game. Number 5. Aladdin. A video game based on a movie? This can't go well, right? However, it did in this case. Released on both the Super Nintendo and Genesis, the latter taking the gold, you had everything you can want in a Disney game from an excellent movie. Actual Disney animators animated the game. Gameplay was extremely addictive and well done. Levels were very big and nicely detailed. Go ahead, make a wish. Number 4. Earthworm Jim. Oh, how I love this game, not only for its fun gameplay, but how absolutely weird this game was. You play as a worm in a spacesuit body that has more muscles than a roided out bodybuilder. This game has its own personality, it was funny to play, and fun as well. A rare combination to be successful in. Number 3. Streets of Rage 2. The original Streets of Rage was impressive, however imperfect. Streets of Rage 2 not only used the same formula, but fixed the imperfections of its predecessor. The result? A game that looks and sounds and feels sensational. Yuzo Koshiro's soundtrack is a masterpiece, and the overall presentation to the addicting co-op was fantastic. Streets of Rage 2 comes in at number 3. Number 2. Phantasy Star 4. Ever heard the phrase quality over quantity? Well, that's exactly the case here. The Sega Genesis was not known for releasing many RPGs, but its Phantasy Star series makes up for it. Nintendo had Final Fantasy and Sega had Phantasy Star, an RPG series that would be one of the greatest, period, specifically Phantasy Star 4. The game combined deep storytelling, quality game mechanics, and a unique take of combining fantasy and science fiction to create one of the most memorable RPG experiences ever crafted. Number 1. The Sonic series. I can't even begin to explain how much of a Sonic fan I am. Due to the Sega Genesis being my first system, I had to side with Team Sonic. The Sonic series was more than just games, it was the face of Sega that defined a generation of gamers. Simply put, you purchased the Sega Genesis to play these games, and boy, do they hold up to this day. What I loved about Sonic was that putting aside his extremely cocky but cool personality, he brought speed to video games. There was nothing better than blasting through a level, collecting more rings than even the Superman 64 game, and the overall fluidity was simply revolutionary. From the incredibly catchy music to the smooth gameplay, the Sonic series are what made the Sega Genesis the Sega Genesis. Honorable mention: Echo the Tides of Time. I did mention this list is personal to me, right? Time traveling and freaking telekinetic dolphins. Yes, this may be the premise for an Austin Powers sequel, however this game was very well done, albeit the level layouts were a tad confusing, but the smooth soundtrack and the dolphin kicking butt made this game an excellent addition to my Sega Genesis library. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and share it with your friends. Please be also sure to leave a comment below on what your top 10 Sega Genesis games are.